Hello, dear friends. I'm Carmen Henneman, and today, through our introduction, we'll talk about one of the most noble words mentioned in the Bible, the word friend. And by the way, this is one of my favorite topics. So this word is mentioned many times by many people in the whole Bible, but especially by Jesus, our very best friend. And as our main text, we'll be using this reference from Matthew 26:50. Then, the original Greek of the New Testament shows us this reference as you see here. Ρode Iessus επινιωτό, ἑταῖρε πάρει, tot prosiotontes epebalontas heiras, epiton Iesum kai ekretesan auton. This is a very beautiful and deep reference. But to be more familiar and understand the whole context of this beautiful verse, we will go into English. We read in this way, Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the man stepped forward and seized Jesus and arrested him. So from this reference, from this simple text, we'll take our main question. And the main question is very here in the very first sentence in Greek. ἑταῖρε πάρει. In Greek, it sounds as a question, so I will read in this way. ἑταῖρε πάρει. This is a question. It corresponds to this part in English. Do what you came for, friend? It will sound as a question during our whole time. So, from here, you know already who we'll be talking about during this test or this whole discussion. And yes, after Jesus, this test also talks about Judas Iscariot, one of the most famous enemies of Jesus when Jesus was here in this world. And then, because of everything that happens inside of the simple and powerful reference, we'll call this topic as high value. But I ask you, why? Why I gave this new devotion this very important topic or name, high value? For me, it's because that it is exactly what Jesus did when he was here in this world. He showed the love to all his enemies, including Judas Iscariot. So here, from here, we'll see some different aspects between Jesus' intentions and Judas' response. For example, we evaluate from the very beginning of part 1 the point about valuing the enemy. Wow, it from the beginning sounded like a kind of a contradiction, right? Because if you think with our human mind, what do we do with our enemies? Normally, if you don't take in count our good Christian life as a man only, just as a human people, our tendency is to reject our enemies, is to ignore them, is to give up on them. But it was not what Jesus did, it is not what his word teaches us. Why? Because when Jesus was here, he never rejected no one or anyone, including Judas Iscariot. Then, in other words, Jesus never rejected anyone. He never ignored them. Even he never discriminated us, no matter how bad we are, no matter how many horrible mistakes we make. He never rejected us. He never discriminated us. Also, he never accused us. He never condemned us. As we know already, during our walk with him, I never felt as I was under his condemnation, never in my entire life. So what was Jesus' purpose or his intention in asking Judas Iscariot this question? There was any purpose or any intention in Jesus' mind when he looked to his enemy. He asked, friend, why you are here? Why you came? Why you are doing here? Why you came? So we'll talk about this very important first moment between Jesus and Judas through this simple question. Also, we'll go through this point I call reflection. Jesus' question really made Judas reflected. Did Judas reflected? He entered into any moment of reflection about what he was doing. I mean, he took any moment to think or to analyze about what he was doing and the consequences he was already getting against his own life when Jesus asked to him, friend, why did you come? He did really reflected or analyzed about his life, his action, and his consequence. We'll see this all in the very first part. Also, we'll talk about his last chance or last opportunity in his entire life. Why I say last chance? Because after that, there would not be another chance, another opportunity for Judas Iscariot. That was absolutely the end of him. It was literally his last opportunity. What he did with his last opportunity, we'll talk about this next week. He also will talk about value. We will try to make a comparison. Why this kind of subtopic is value comparison? It's because I imagine, while in Judas' mind, Jesus was worth just 30 silver coins. For Jesus, Judas was worth the noblest word that had ever received, the word friend. I mean, for Judas, Jesus was worth just 30 silver coins. For Jesus, Judas worth the best, the deepest, the highest word from Jesus' vocabulary, which was the word friend. We see here a very kind of different level of importance, right? For Judas, Jesus was very down. For Judas, Jesus was down, and for Jesus, Judas was in very high position. So then we come back to our central part of the text, which is our main question. Friend, for what did you come? This is Jesus' question through this reference Matthew 26:50, in Greek ἑταῖρε πάρει. So from this question, I ask you from now, there was a reason why Judas came? In your opinion, why Judas came and made part of this whole situation? Had Jesus any intention in allowing Judas be part of his final days before his crucifixion? Judas came, he was or made part of his final days here in this world. And the most important, what did Judas feel on that exact moment while Jesus was looking at him, asking this important question? Friend, for what? What did you come? Why you came? Why you are here? You think Judas felt something in this exact moment. Just imagine Judas is there looking at Jesus, and Jesus looked at him, and I believe Jesus looked directly to his face, probably to his eyes. He asked this important question. Friend, to begin with, the word here was very powerful, was very true, was very honest, and very deep. Jesus looked at his horrible enemy and say, my friend, for what did you come? What do you think Judas felt? In case he felt something, which kind of conclusion have us or can we get from this important part of our discussion? Just imagine, we'll talk about this next time. So part 1 will be about some analytical questions. And then from here, we'll see that in Greek and also in Hebrew, we have some specific words relating to the word friend. And two of this amount of words, two of more important are the first philos, which literally we can translate as common friend. When I say common friend, I am referring to an ordinary friend, or a regular friend, or a usual friend. I mean, not too special, but is just regular or ordinary. So philos is in some way a good person, is nice, is positive, but is not the most special. This is the kind of little difference. In the next most important is ἑταῖρε, we can translate as a special friend. And this is exactly the word Jesus used to referring to Judas when he asked this question to him, to this man. In this case, ἑταῖρε also can means a special friend, or friend of my heart, or friend of my soul. It refers to someone who even have the same vision and also walk in the same direction. It is ἑταῖρε in Greek. And at the end, we can conclude ἑταῖρε is the best friend, with all these qualities, someone who is from my heart, from our soul, someone who has the same vision, the same feeling, same motivation, you walk together in the same direction, as at the end, the final conclusion, a very best friend. And then, for me, the most important thing is, it was exactly the word Jesus used to speak to Judas Iscariot, who was not even a philos, and Jesus climbed in the importance, in the value of his vocabulary, and choke and call him his enemy and my best friend. Wow, it is a really, truly noble word that Judas was not deserving. He was not worthy to receive this special, very special word. But from now I ask, why did Jesus call Judas Iscariot his special friend, when he was not even an ordinary friend? How? How to understand this part, we'll talk later. In this context, what does this word mean? In this context between Jesus and Judas Iscariot, and all these aspects which involved the situation they experienced together on that part of the Bible. We'll talk about this later too. Then it depends of the term referring to the friend used by Jesus. So in this case, Jesus used, he applied it to his enemy, the best word we can use to refer to a special friend who has so many things in common with us, which is ἑταῖρε. And Jesus asked ἑταῖρε, after who party, friend, why you came here? is very important. And most important here, Judas understood the language, Jesus' language, because they both spoke the same language, and Judas understood very well. My question was why he did not change. And this point will be one frequent point of our discussion through these next 3 weeks. So in part 1, we will see all possible qualities from these 2 terminologies, philos and ἑταῖρε, and try to understand new things together. The second part, part 2, will talk about some key questions. And when we enter in this part, we also will enter in Judas' life. Who was Judas Iscariot? Who was this man? We don't know too much about them. We'll see what the history says. We'll talk about which kind of profession he had. We'll talk about his character. And we'll talk about his character. We'll talk about his habits, including his bad habits, and see how he concluded his life in the way how he did from how his character and bad habits were in the past. We'll talk about his past. In this past, he will include everything who he was, things he did, his intentions, his habit, and all together will come here in this part, his past. Also talk about his plan. And when we talk about his plan, we'll talk also with what authorities did he negotiated about Jesus? In which place did he choose to betray Jesus? How did he tell the guards or police or officials who should be arrested? Referring to Jesus, right? Jesus was his main element. How he did negotiate with these guards or police about to arrest Jesus. He also chose the sign of to betray Jesus, which was the kiss. Why was the sign a kiss? This is an important curiosity for me. Why he decided to kiss Jesus and show it as his main sign at the moment when he was betraying Jesus. Some people use normally other kind of sign. For example, it's possible to make a sign using the head, the movement. You point it to the right or to the left like this, or even some people just use their eyes like this, there or the other side. Other people prefer to use the finger pointed there or doing this direction, for example, or the other direction. But Judas choice for a kiss. Have it any symbolism? Which kind of a comprehension? How can we understand this type of sign? The idea was he came to kiss Jesus in his face, right? I don't think he's kissing Jesus in his hand or his foot. I think he's kissing in his face. And there is any symbolism, we don't know even now. We'll talk about this too. Why silver coins? And what is the equivalence of with our money today? There was not another kind of money or value or amount of money or however. Why silver coins? We'll talk about this later, which is the equivalence. If it were today, how much money Judas received, he got by this situation, after to betray Jesus. So in this case, did Jesus know all about this situation? He knew, Judas, for example, he knew about all these consequences. He knew what was coming to happen. You think Jesus knew about this? And also, if he knew, why did he referring to Jesus, why did he allow all these things? Why he did allow Judas come and make all this horrible situation? And for what was Judas there for? Why he came, with which purpose? So one thing I know, all this well-organized plan led us to think that Judas was very aware of what he was doing. He was not innocent in this whole story, in this whole experience. And the saddest part for me is that he wanted to do what he did. And brothers and sisters, in my opinion, this is our very delicate point. It's the most important point to see here. There is a huge difference when we make something wrong by accident. We didn't have any intention, but we did. It is not really serious because we did not have any intention. The other side is when we do something wrong because we want to do. There, in this exact point, there is the dangerous and the very delicate weakness of your life. In this case, Judas was not innocent. He made a plan, a very well organized plan. He involved the authority. He also will see next week the authority he contacted to negotiate about the price of these things was the most important authority in that time. The one who was able to decide. No one else could change. No one else was able to modify or change the plan. He went exactly to talk with the highest right authority to make established this plan against Jesus. Also, how he organized with the police or the guards. Also, how he thought even about the kind of sign, the kiss, just to indicate this is the man you must take and put in prison or kill or torture or however he had in mind. He was not innocent. He wanted to do what he did. So from this point, conscious acts or conscious actions brings inevitable consequences. He had the consequences according to what he did. So in the last part, you talk about some final moments or final situation. In my question here, my main question at this point is, what was Judas' response to Jesus? Judas gave to Jesus any question. When Jesus asked the friend, why you came? Which was Judas' answer to Jesus? He gave an answer. I think he did. His answer was kind of implicit because the Bible does not show. He said, well, I came for this and this reason. He didn't give any answer to Jesus' question, but his answer was implicit and was expressed in what he did step by step, what he decided to do and what he did from the beginning to the end of his whole plan. There was his very clear answer to Jesus. And in this point, what did he think? He really was thinking something serious, and he really felt something serious on that situation. Why he did what he did, why he decided to do this, what he complete, why he didn't stop in the middle. When Jesus said, friend, why you came here? I just imagine if it was me Or maybe if it was you, I'm very sure our reaction was to stop. What am I doing? And then stop. It changed our decision, started to walk in the opposite direction. It canceled our bad or malignant plan against Jesus, but he didn't. He received the answer. Probably he thought something, he felt something, but he didn't change his decision. Why? Why did he do what he did? What he did? What he completed his plan? It is all my main points for this third part. And his final consequence was really, really serious. Why? Because for me, his final consequence was also his fatal consequence. It was fatality. It was his fatal. It was the end. It was completely done for him. Literally, it was his end of his entire life. What does his example teaches us? Have we anything to learn from this situation? What can we learn from this? Sometimes we think we just can learn from positive situations, but the Bible mentions some negatives also to teach us, right? We can learn from our own mistakes, but also we can learn from someone else's mistakes, like from Peter, as we talked last week, and now from Judas Iscariot. What we can learn from him regarding to all this sad situation. So my personal conclusion, in base of this question, friend, for what did you come? Why you are here? Why you are present? When I mention different ways to ask the same question, I am using different versions of the Bible. Some words just say this, for what did you come? Others say, why you are here, etc., etc. But it's all referring to the same question. In the original Greek, ἑταῖρε, remember, this is the most special word referring to a friend. It's a very special person with the best quality. My special friend, πάρει. Why you are here? Why you came? For what you came? So, if today you heard this question, friend, for what did you come? Why? What can be, what would be your answer? If Jesus is asking us, why are you here, my friend? Or why are you hanging out with me? What would we say in response to him, to Jesus? Or would we also become confused as Judas did and thought there was, or there are in our time, present time, many Judases, many people similar of Judas Iscariot, many Judases out here around us, which are the people who are lying, slandering, killing, and love their own sin, different expressions of Judas Iscariot in our present time. I'm very sure it is not God's desire for you or for me. It is not a good example from God to us. So what we need to do in front of this serious moment of confrontation and tragical end, dramatical end of a life. What we must do? I believe we must be aware and take care of our steps, our words, and especially our decisions, especially those decisions we call final decisions. Before they become like for Judas Iscariot, our fatal decisions that will mark our lives and our eternity forever, as happened with him. May we learn from this terrible mistake. So these and other questions in comments will be answered in part 1 part 2 and part 3, because today we just have a very simple introduction. And I hope God help us to learn a very important lesson from this point. So see you then next week with part 1 on this topic about high value. Okay? God bless you. See you next week with part 1. Bye bye.